Good morning, guys. It's Miss Trish. It is Monday, May the 11th. I have a slight correction from last week. I thought that was going to be my last week, but our director said we should do new content one more week through the 15th. So I'm going to do that, which is my pleasure. And remember, parents out there, to review your child's personal information. What's your name? I'm Miss Trish. How old are you? Are you 3 or 4 or 5? And are you a boy or a girl? So, today I'm just going to jump right into this story. This is a story that Miss Rachel Latta did with her class. I don't know how many of my other students have done this particular story, but it's one of my favorites and it's very silly. So I thought it would be a fun story for us to do on our last Monday together. It is called Silly Sally. Silly Sally went to town, walking backwards, upside down. On the way, she met a pig, a silly pig. They danced a jig. Silly Sally went to town, dancing backwards, upside down. On the way, she met a dog, a silly dog. They played leapfrog. Silly Sally went to town, leaping backwards, upside down. And on the way, she met a loon, a silly loon. They sang a tune. Silly Sally went to town, singing backwards, upside down. She's so silly. On the way, she met a sheep, a silly sheep. They fell asleep. Now, how did Sally get to town, sleeping backwards, upside down? Along came Nettie Buttercup, walking forwards, right side up. He tickled the pig who danced a jig. He tickled the dog who played leapfrog. He tickled the loon who sang a tune. He tickled the sheep who fell asleep. He tickled Sally who woke right up. She tickled Nettie Buttercup. And that's how Sally got to town. Walking backwards, upside down. The end. And remember, like we talked about last week, we could say, who is this story about? And see if your child can tell you the main character. Or if your child doesn't talk very much, you can take your story and you can say, point to the pig. Where's the pig? Or point to Miss Sally's hair. Use your pictures as a teaching tool for working on object identification and listening skills, all those things. A good goal is 5 minutes for your stories. This one was not quite 5 minutes, but I encourage you to read to your child every day and keep that up this summer. It's wonderful. All right. The activity I was going to talk about for us to use today involves tissue paper. Ooh, look at my pretty tissue paper. It's like a rainbow. Ooh. I bought this tissue paper at the dollar store. That's like my favorite place. It was only $1, so that's not very much. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our tissue paper today and we're going to use it to make some things. You could get your child to tear the tissue paper. I like tearing paper, and this is actually easier to tear than regular paper because it's very thin and scrunchy. So tear your tissue paper. Use whatever color you want. If you buy a pack like I did with multiple colors, you could tear different colors. Parents, you might, if your child's not a very good cutter, you could cut a strip or help your child, draw a line on the tissue paper and cut a strip that your child then could use to tear. So once your child has a big pile of their littler pieces of tissue paper, whether you tear it or cut it, then, remember we used this coloring book a few weeks ago. It was also only $1. You could take your coloring book picture, like in this case it's going to be the fish, and I want you to take your little pieces that you've torn and crinkle them up so they make a small little piece. I think in this case, I like the liquid glue. If you've already got the stick glue, that's fine. But for the tissue paper art, I kind of like the wet glue better. So use your wet glue. This is really old, but I did have it in my cabinet and it worked a little while ago. But use your wet glue just like this. Use your wet glue. Once Miss Trish gets her wet glue going here. I may not have had it open enough. I'm sorry about that. Well, I'm not having much luck with my wet glue. I may have gotten the wrong glue out. But anyway, get your wet glue on your tissue paper and then glue it on the paper. So, hopefully you'll have better luck with your glue than I did just then. Ta-da! So you're going to make tissue paper art. You can do that onto a coloring page, or you can take a piece of paper and draw something. Parents, you might draw if your child's not a very good artist yet. But you could do something simple like a flower or a house using just a rectangle and your squares. I did a flower and I also did a house. And continue to use your tissue paper art where you're scrunching up the tissue paper, getting a little glue, and putting it on your flower or on your house. Like that. So, that is my craft activity for today. Remember the other things that we've talked about where you do a broken line, like, let me show you in case you've forgotten, where you do the broken line for your shapes, and have your child connect those dots, and then cut it out and put it over on the other picture that you've drawn. You don't need anything special to do that except just paper and a pencil and a pair of scissors. So work on that for those shapes: circle, square, rectangle, diamond. Remember to work on maybe being able to write letters. If your child's not able to write very well, then I encourage you to think about Play-Doh and those other things that we've talked about. So anyway, that's my lesson for today, and this is the beginning of the last week of school. We only have 5 more days. So today was Monday, so then we only have 4 days left. So I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.